your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from Rock Solid Studios in Granite Falls, it's time for MinneZona Sports, live with DJ Mattie C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. Yes, we are back. Episode 91, I think. 91 episodes of MinneZona Sports Live. It's hard to believe. But, you know, without further ado, I'm your host, DJ Mattie C, a.k.a. Matt Callahan, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Mattie C, etc., 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 and all the way from Woods and Shore Studios in Aiken, Minnesota, Paul Volt, the Shield. What is going on, Shield?
Well, the only thing certain that we've got going for us is that we don't know how certain the weather wants to be. Is it going to rain? Is it going to snow? Is it going to do all of it?
Yeah.
I don't know anymore. We're making it was upper 40s today. It was almost 50 degrees here in Aiken. It's been nuts. And now it's going to rain. It's going to do everything and basically go to overnight lows at like around single digits, if not below zero. But could be worse. We could be everybody in the cities that got, 2 feet of snow.
Yeah, it's true. 2 feet of snow, wind gusts everywhere. Cats and dogs are raining down on us. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Actually, it's just Minnesota weather in general, so there's that.
Pretty much.
But anyway, without further ado, hopefully the wind or the snow and lightning doesn't take down any of our intranets, because we got a good show lined up for you guys tonight. Because first of all, we're talking Tater hot take. We got Vikings. We got the Minnesota Golden Gopher basketball team. They're hot. Hot. And where are they now as well? Oh, man, we got LewFord, IlyaBryzgalov. I think I said that right. The dude was awesome. Close enough. Dude was insane, and there's some nice stories about that. So we'll get into that, and of course ARA, and then some other cool stuff too. But before we get started, Voldy, we've gotten an announcement. This is actually a pretty big announcement for the Zoners, because this week we promised you guys some prizes with the pick'em. Obviously, we did stickers starting off, but guess what we're doing now? Boom! There it is! Win a free Zona shirt. This week you have a chance. Even if you are out of the running of the Zona bundle, you still can win a free MinneZona t-shirt. Just get the most points this week in the pick'em. I know it's a crapshoot, but you know what? I think our Zoners can handle it. There will be a tiebreaker involved. We don't know what that is yet, but there's got to be one. Only one person winning this week. So we'll make sure we get that to you guys as well. But shirts are coming, baby. Here we go.
But they are.
Here we go. But Voldy's leading the way now. If you check the leaderboard, he's leading the way. So someone, I don't know. I will see this week.
And we'll give this as a friendly reminder to creative consultant Mrs. Sarah Antus to make her picks, because she usually forgets very last second as of late. But this is a weekly reminder to make your picks, please.
Yes, make your picks. You need to get it done. If you don't, well, that's just on you. They'll just put it like that. But no, anyway, all in good fun. But let's get it going with some tater tot. Hot take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
Voldy, I ask you this question as we get this going here. Why is it it's never easy with the purple? Is it, it's just, I remember I was watching the game with the Kerf Doctor Thursday night. We're sitting watching the game, and, obviously we were dominating. 29 zilch. Big Ben looked like he needed to retire 3 years ago, 2 years ago, whatever the hell it was. But good Lord, they were kicking the living tar out of the Steelers. But now you get to the second half, and, well, Vikings gonna Viking. Vikings gonna Viking. The Vikings do win 36-28. Big win Thursday night, nonetheless, and we can thank Dirty Harry for making that play at the end because we definitely needed that. But Voldy, what are your overall thoughts on this game? I mean, it just sums up the season so far, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that really does sum up the season in one game all together as well. Look, I think I'm kind of glad I didn't see the first half, and it was 29-0 at one. I was actually doing a game, so I got to miss out on all the fun parts of the game that was the first half altogether. I started showing up and started listening, and then I started watching the game in the second half. When Pittsburgh scored their first touchdown, like, okay, yeah, get some points, but, get another score or two and we'll be just fine. But the Vikings had a lot of missed opportunities, especially in the second half, and trying to get the ball to the likes of, Justin Jefferson and throw it a little bit more his direction in that regard too. Didn't help out a lot when a lot of errant throws and obviously a couple of bad turnovers, but it's not for a lack of effort. I mean, Pittsburgh really turned something on there late in the second half, and I think the Vikings really just got complacent, especially when you got Dalvin going for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, which was, amazing to see as well for him in that game too, especially coming off that shoulder injury that he still has as well. He's still kind of banged up with that, and he thought, all right, the Vikings is going to ride off into the sunset with that and come out with a win while running the clock out. Not exactly. When the defense couldn't cover late in the second half, too, and started allowing some big chunk plays down the field. The defense for the Steelers also came out with some big plays and a couple interceptions. But again, it came down to the defense right at the very end. What should have been, obviously the winning score of the game. No, would have set up the tying score of the game as well, because they need that touchdown 2-point conversion to tie the game. But again, defense came through as Harrison came through and made the crunch at the very end. I mean, that's just how the way it goes. It goes all the way to the very end. As it goes with the Vikings, no amount of points is enough points to come out with a win.
Yeah.
When you're 29-0 and you barely hang on for a win, well, it was 38-30 or 38-29 or something like that, whatever the final score ended up being.
Yeah.
Well, it was like the 8-point difference. I mean, 36-28. That was the final score. I mean,
right.
That's as a Vikings of a game it has been the last couple of years. That is probably the antithesis of Vikings football right there.
It's a one way to put it. I look at it and say, I look at this whole game and I say, I mean, it sums up the whole season. The interceptions, I think JJ had to come down with it. He did have some drops, I will say. JJ did have some drops, and I'm not saying that as an excuse for Kirk Cousins, because I think the second interception was on Kirk. But I also want to say that the refs did miss the call after he threw the football when he got his face mask ripped on that one, and they completely missed that. But again, he still threw the ball, and it was a bad throw. It was a bad throw. I just think sometimes when they get to the ends of the game, they don't know how to end it. The way to end it is to not make stupid mistakes like you did. Dropping footballs, making bad passes, and also, like you said, getting too complacent. And they were. They got complacent, and sometimes I get people like, well, we got to be aggressive. But sometimes you got to take a step back and say, listen, let's do what we've been doing best this whole game. Running the ball with Dalvin Cook. Let Dalvin cook. I've said this before. You all know I've said this before. And he did. He was fantastic, especially coming off an injury. I mean, you can't make this up. He is, he's that good. And we were going to need him. Okay, Monday night against the Bears, because Alexander Madison is out with COVID and whatnot, but the Vikings pick up Wayne Gallman. But anyway, let's get back to the defensive side of things. I think defensively, they couldn't adjust to the quick passing with Big Ben, and Big Ben was able to get the ball out quick because the Vikings were destroying them, absolutely destroying them. When Ben would go back to pass, and even in the run game, we were good too. But we didn't adjust at halftime, and that is the issue with this defense. Is
right.
we let them back into the game, give them hope, and they had hope. And I will say though, they made some nice catches. I mean, James Washington had a nice catch. Deontay Johnson, I think, also did too. Chase Claypool, he's an idiot for one. I'll say that. And I couldn't believe what he said after too, when he was like, "Well, you knocked it out of my hands, bro." You're going out and saying first down when you got to get the ball snap. You got to spike the freaking ball, moron. Maybe he'll end up on the infamous list, but. I mean, they made some nice plays. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, we need to remember that if we want to slam the door on this team, we need to keep playing the way that we were playing in the first half and adjust to what they were adjusting to with the quick passing. Just stay in front. Don't let them beat you down the field. And again, they made some nice catches. Give them credit for that. But another thing, too, is... defensively, we were able, and thank you to Harry, we were able to get some pressure without guys like Everson, Daniil, and all those guys. Mm-hmm. And Eric Kendricks, man, I mean, he was coming through the middle hot, and he nailed Big Ben a couple times. And Harry nailed him too. I mean, oh my goodness, he looked like a statue. But then again, a win's a win. We'll take the win, and it was something that we needed to. Have for this team. Okay, this is a big comment, so bear with me here. Mikey says last week's game was this season personified. The first half we looked like Super Bowl contenders. Then the second half is how a lot of the times the team performs once we have the lead. There was a half a game left to play, and the Vikings just let the Steelers come back and almost force the game into overtime. They need to learn how to finish games, whether that be grinding down the clock or making sure the opposing team doesn't get momentum. And they got momentum, and that was I was fearful of that big time. And they got some momentum, and we didn't feel too good about that.
Nope.
Curve Doctor says let Dalvin grill. Okay.
Let Dalvin broil. I don't know.
Let Dalvin bake. Let's do that. Let's just go through all the cooking necessities here. But anyway, win's a win. We'll take it. Great win for the Vikings. Monday night, Chicago. We all know the history there, Voldy. We all know the history there. I don't care how bad the Bears are. There's some bad juju in that place. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it is like that, but this is a game they need to win. They need to win out the rest of their games here, so or at least go 3-1. But Voldy, how do we get this win besides this old bad juju? Just forget about it and just move on. What do you got?
You need to not turn over the football. It's plain and simple right then and there. Because, like, right now, the defense for the Bears is literally their only saving grace, at least in my mind right now. The offense sure does have some flashes here and there. I mean, we saw it on the Sunday night game, and boy, was that a shootout against Green Bay. But, I mean, the Bears going up against A-Rod and the Packers like that and end up being a shootout. What it was 27-21 at halftime, and I didn't even watch the whole game, too. I was just going to check the score, and it's like, geez, what team is this? Did Jay Cutler come out of retirement and come back, or did Jim McMahon decide to throw on the helmet one more time and start slinging the ball around? But man, it was crazy to see. But again, if the Vikings hang on to the football and get to Justin Fields, they're going to win the football game. It's that easy as well. I them being without Khalil Mack and a couple other players too on the defensive side from earlier the year that were helping them contend early on. That was a big thing. It also helps too. Cordell Patterson's no longer with the Bears too. That he ended up taking a kick return to the end zone last year against the Vikings too. That was also on Monday night too. That contest. So at least we've got that going for us here. for this week too. So yeah, if the Vikings just don't turn over the football, they get to Justin Fields. That's going to be a big help right then and there. They could definitely easily come out with a win.
I hope so. You can't make this team look like they're good because they're terrible. The reason why that they're terrible, their offense sucks. Justin Fields, I think, still needs some growth. There's growth to be had with him.
Oh, yeah.
Matt Nagy's literally probably on his way out after the season.
Yep.
I already said this before. I still don't. I want to believe in this. I still do believe in this team. But we all have to remember that there are games where they should have won. Detroit. You got to win this one. I mean, this is a game you can't lose. I don't care about the history. I don't care about if you're only taking on a rookie QB. I don't care if Khalil Mack's out. You go in and you beat this team. You beat them to a pulp. I don't care how you do it. Do it. Use Dalvin, Jefferson. Not sure about Thielen's status, but we'll know more into the week. But KJ's been great. No DD, obviously, with the COVID.
Yeah.
You can expose this team big time. Their corners are trash. Their corners aren't good. Take advantage of that, please, for the love of God. But Kirk, I think he's going to be ready to go. I think I think he knows the history. He knows the Monday Night Football stat, and to be honest, he doesn't give a damn about that anymore. He doesn't care.
Yeah, I mean that's 2 years ago. That's just an old overinflated in stat right now.
And let's remember, they won there last year on Monday night at Chicago. So
yeah, they did.
Let's hope that it continues into the week.
I literally forgot about that.
Yeah, well, there you go. I'm happy to remind you.
Because all I remember is the Cordero Patterson kickoff return touchdown.
And Zim was pissed. And I think Marwin Maloof, he wasn't a good special teams guy.
Hashtag Fear the Dreads.
Fear the Dreads. Hashtag Fear the Dreads. So there's that. Anyway,
champ.
Yeah. And we'll see you on Monday night. All right. Our next team here, very quietly, this Minnesota team has been quietly very, very good. The Golden Gopher basketball team. Right now, this might fool you a little bit. It is now 9-1 for the Golden Gopher basketball team. Ben Johnson off to a hot start. We love it. Was it just that? That's my question. Was it just that they needed some type of different path to go? I don't get it. This team is just kicking ass, taking names. Their loss was to Michigan State, a ranked team. So, not only that, but they might have lost to Michigan State, but they beat Michigan. Another good team too. They beat them 75-60 or 75-65, and there's a lot to like about this team. Eric Curry, he's so good down low, up top on the elbow there. Jamison Battle, the guy has been a star. A lot of people knew that he was going to be good coming into the season and whatnot, but oh my goodness, this Minnesota Golden Gopher basketball team is a different beast now. This is something that's like, holy crap, this team's good. But Ben Johnson's been doing a fantastic job. So, Voldy, what are your thoughts on the Golden Gopher basketball team so far?
Yeah, this is a really good start for the tenure for Ben Johnson. This is only going to help out, too, because if you really think about it, too, a lot of these guys contributing this year, fresh faces. You got a fresh new coaching staff. You got a bunch of fresh new guys coming in looking to make a name for themselves too. When you go on the road, you get a nice victory against Michigan on the road, of course, with their program that's seen a little bit of spark in the last couple of years with Juwan Howard as the head man. That is definitely a great start to the year. Getting that win last night against Texas A&M Corpus Christi, a little bit of a blemish there with like almost 30 turnovers and yet still a win in that regard. It's really good. Again, you get Jamison Battle, who had a really nice performance against the Wolverines, which was awesome to see right off the bat to open up. Obviously, they lost to Michigan State and then bouncing back to get Michigan as well to go 1-1 in the conference thus far. It's a pretty good start to the year. Very happy to see this continue to go in the right direction, especially with a new head coach. And let's just hope the momentum does continue on. Obviously, they do get right back into conference play here before too long.
Yep.
I know that the holiday break is going to, change a couple of things here and there. But, this team is looking very impressive early on.
They're very impressive, and not only that, but they have guys that are team players here. And sometimes I felt like whenever we saw a Patino team on the floor, we saw guys that would always try to kind of play hero ball and whatnot. But I don't see that with this team. Why don't I see that is because they don't always have to rely on Jamison Battle, because they have other guys on this team that are contributing. And Peyton Willis is one of those guys. Eli Brooks, he's playing lights out defensively. This is a team that you're not used to seeing. And Luke Lowe is another guy that's playing well too. But I asked this to the zoners too, with Ben Johnson coming in. I think with having kind of the hometown feel, because again, being from Minnesota and whatnot, but the hometown feel I think was needed for this program, because I don't think Patino got the guys that he wanted to get. For example, Jalen Suggs, one of those guys, he wanted to come here. They didn't even go after him, which I think is a travesty in itself. I think you should always go out for guys that are in state. Now that he's kind of established himself with this team, and, this is his first year now, and Patino did have success when he started off too. I'm not saying that you should look down and be like, well, this is going to go downhill at some point. It could. Not saying that it will. Not saying that it will, but this has a different feel. If you're beating Michigan, if you're playing close games against Michigan State, two teams that are very good in the Big Ten, you're doing pretty well. And again, there's gonna be times where you might be upset by, God knows, like Penn State, and Penn State's terrible, but Indiana or teams like that. But I think this is a different team with this different direction with Ben Johnson. I think it's fantastic. Like you mentioned too, Voldy, I think the one thing they got to clean up is turnovers, and they've been turning over the ball a little bit, but I think that's one of those things that you can fix. And it's nothing that you can say like, oh, well, this is going to be a whole problem the whole season. No, it's just making the right passes. You don't have to, chuck it over your head and pray to God that it, gets the guy that you need to get to. It's just crisp passes, making the easy pass. That's how basketball works. So I'm feeling good about this Golden Gopher basketball team. I think they're going to keep continuing to play well. But one thing I do ask, this is kind of off the cuff here, but I'm speaking to the University of Minnesota here, can we get actual seats in the barn instead of benches, please? I mean, I don't get me wrong, Williams Arena is a nice place, but you got to get some seats in there. Those benches hurt like hell. My ass is always just is sore, just sitting on those things. They're just so... Get some seats in there, please. For the love of God. You have people sitting by pillars, leaning up against pillars. Come on, update it, renovate it, something. I don't know. But anyway, we're happy. We're happy for the Gophers and whatnot. So it is what it is. We'll keep track of how their progress is too. So anyway, Voldy, let's move on to where are they now? We got some really good ones this week. I'm really enjoying this because one guy was kind of like a local legend, and then he was gone. Then he comes back, and then there's another guy that made a lot of noise in the NHL too, and played for the Wild. So it's a lot of Minnesota connections. So anyway, let's get it going with where are they now? Where'd they go? I don't see them. Where are they? Whoop.
Check your milk carton. It's time for Where Are They Now?
All right, it's time for Where Are They Now? And if you haven't seen it, well, you're going to see it right here. LewFord, IlyaBryzgalov, headline, Where Are They Now tonight? And this is a interesting one because one guy was here very briefly, another guy was here for a little bit here with MinneZona. Mm-hmm. So, Voldy, do you want to do the honors this week?
Yeah, I'll get it started off because a lot of what Bryzgalov did in the NHL was well before his time in Minnesota. And by the point he got to the Minnesota Wild, well, he was on the outside looking in with his career. A lot of people don't know his rise to fame and accomplishing the rare feat that it is, but a very accomplishable feat in winning a Stanley Cup that did start off. And of course, in 2006, 2007 was kind of a little bit of a backup at times with the Ducks with John Sebastian Giguère, J.S. Giguère in Anaheim at the time, but also did spend some time out in Arizona getting a big contract before making the jump to the Philadelphia Flyers. Now, he was only with the Flyers for, I think, like a season and a half, according to his hockey reference page as well. And, you know, you look back at that, that's not a lot of time. And a lot of people do remember the fact that this dude was straight up out of a different planet. The cosmonaut, they called him, IlyaBryzgalov as well. The dude was a horse of a different color, we'll say, because there's just something about goalies, man. There is not there's a lot of wheels turning up there, and not all of them are turning in the same direction, we'll certainly say. But did spend some time out in Philly for about a season and a half as well, before finally making it to Minnesota after spending a cup of coffee with the Edmonton Oilers. Now, when he was with Minnesota, you know, he was still a pretty accomplishable goalie in his own right. Yes, He had a lot of weird comments and a lot of weird observations about the world, astronomy, the universe, where we all fit in. Typical, you know, goalie type stuff. If you want to reference, check out the HBO Sports 24/7 with the Winter Classic leading up to the Rangers against the Flyers. That's where you're going to see the true the cosmonaut himself and IlyaBryzgalov as well, Brizzy, if you want to go for short as well. But given the fact that he showed up after the trade deadline in the late half of the season for the Minnesota Wild, you know, pretty accomplishable stuff. 12 games, did play in 11 starts, was 7-3-1, 911 save percentage, and 2.12 goals against average. Not bad for a small sample size. That would play into the decision between who was going to start for the Minnesota Wild in net in the postseason. And, well, it ended up being Bryzgalov who did get those starts. And, well, unfortunately, 8 games in the postseason, went 3-6 with a .885 save percentage, 2.63 goals against average. Not exactly a good way to end your tenure here in Minnesota as well. But then after that, you know, he did bounce around a little bit. He did end up getting a few more games with the Anaheim Ducks. By the time we got him, too, I mean, Bryzgalov was already 33, so definitely on the back end of his career. Did play a handful of games more with his Anaheim Ducks before ultimately finishing his career. And in his time as well, 12 years in the league, that's a pretty substantial amount of games in his own right, given the way that goalies go in and out of the lineup and, you know, the way the amount of turnover there is. And nowadays, you're not going to see guys playing over, you know, 35, 40 years old like they did back in the day as well. You're not going to see any Marty Brodeurs out in the net, if at all, ever again, at least in my own mind. But you know what? I think he's doing all right for himself now, post-playing career at the same time, because when the Flyers did sign IlyaBryzgalov, well, they've back-ended his contract big time. I think at one point when he got let go by the Flyers, which he was released, by the way, by the Flyers, they still owed him about $14 million in his contract, and they ended up buying him out. Well, Bryzgalov is still getting over $1.5 million each year now through 2027. So he's still getting paid to this point as well.
That's
and
crazy.
It's great to see that, you know, he's getting that Bobby Bonilla paycheck once every year too as well, of which that continues to roll. But the impact that he had with Minnesota, you know, it was a small sample size, but you look at a character like IlyaBryzgalov when he came to the Minnesota Wild in his own right, because he had the numbers, he had he has the accomplishments to his own right. He was an all-star, won a Stanley Cup, a little savory to say the least. The Russian guy, he was out there, a space cadet, if you will. He was just way out there in his own regard, but he was a very serviceable goalie in his career as well. 465 games, was 221 wins, 162 losses, and 34 shutouts in his own mind as well. 912 save percentage, 2.58 goals a game. Pretty serviceable career as well. Nowadays, you know what? Bryzgalov's been keeping pretty quiet. Didn't end up going to college in Russia to work on his educations, if you will. And then, you know what? Now he's just kind of hanging out. There's been a little bit of talks as of late why IlyaBryzgalov isn't involved with, some sort of media pursuits as well, because he's a character. He would definitely draw a lot of attention. And according to one of the articles here that we did post with this talking about Bryzgalov and what he's been up to, he'd be perfect as, like one of those analysts, or if not color commentary type guy. Provides a little bit of excitement as well. Basically, I kind of associate it like Tony Romo a little bit. Knows knowledge of the game, can give you a little bit of some sound bites here and there, and is just a fun character overall as well. And no one's ever gonna forget his short time with the Minnesota Wild, Bryzgalov, the game in Winnipeg when he started taunting the crowd and egging them on. Keep going. Let's hear it from the stands as well. When Winnipeg was trying to get inside his head, but nobody's going to get in his head better than IlyaBryzgalov. But a short time for IlyaBryzgalov, but still fairly memorable, at least in my own mind. Maybe people have their own comments about Brizzy in his own time in a Wild sweater, but those were some very interesting times when Bryzgalov was in net for the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah, and he was a guy I remember in college. Someone mentioned it to me, and I was just looking. I was like, "This dude's interesting, man. I don't know what he's talking about with it." But I do remember when he came to the Wild, everyone was like, "Yeah, let's go. He's gonna be dope." And it wasn't as great as, but he made an impact, and people seemed to like him and whatnot.
He was dope, all right.
Yeah, he was dope, dopalicious, as the Curve Doctor would like to say. But I think IlyaBryzgalov, another guy that is a perfect feature on Where Are They Now? So awesome job, Voldy. Here's my guy. Now, this is a guy that everybody, if you watch the Twins back in the early 2000s, you probably know a guy named, and coming up to bat, LewFord. And everybody would do it. And I remember going to the Metrodome, watching those games, and everyone seeing LewFord go up and Lew. I've never heard of a name like that. I've never heard of a name like Lew before. But LewFord, what a guy. I would say he's definitely a local legend here in the state of Minnesota because of the impact he had with the Minnesota Twins. Now, he started off his career pretty solid. I must say. I mean, he was no slouch. Let's put it like that. But he was a guy that was, he's behind, Torrey Hunter, Jock Jones, guys like that. But he was always, when you needed a clutch hit, he was there. Hit a home run. He'd hit, he hits a couple doubles, singles left and right. His best season, I would probably say, would be 2004. And the reason why I say that is because 2004 they win the division and whatnot. They go to the postseason and lose to the Yankees. But no, that's beyond that. But he had 15 home runs that season. He had 31 doubles, and his batting average was .299. That's really good. That's literally right on the precipice of batting 300. But his best season was 2004. He goes into 2005, another solid season, but the average went from .299 to .264. And unfortunately, it just kept dipping and dipping. Some injuries happened and whatnot. And but he was a guy that I think people didn't. I mean, you look at the stats and you think, well, he wasn't that good. He only played a couple seasons. But au contraire, after he was done with his time with the Minnesota Twins, and he was a big proponent of them being successful in the 2004 season. But LewFord went on to go play for the Baltimore Orioles, and he hadn't played in an MLB game till 2012. I mean that,
Yep.
and he plays for the Orioles, and guess what? He was killing it for the Orioles, which is crazy in itself because this dude hadn't played in 4 years. 4 years LewFord had not have played, and now he's doing all this damage with the Orioles, and unfortunately they let him go later on. But his average was 183, but he left an impact in the postseason. So there's that. That's good news. So anyway, LewFord did pretty well in that. His fielding was okay. It wasn't great, but the thing is the guy really loves baseball. And why do I say that is because, I always wonder, where is LewFord now? I've talked about Jock Jones. I've talked about some other guys. Mike Wallace was kind of, as a Viking and everything like that, and Kai Forbath. But LewFord is still playing baseball. Now, not the baseball you guys might think. He is actually playing baseball for a team called the Long Island Ducks. Now, it's pretty... Yeah, exactly. But he's playing for and also he's a coach. He wants to be a coach now. He's a hitting coach, and he's been playing for them for a little bit now. MLB.com did a story on him, which is really cool in itself. And he's 45 years old, and he's still playing. He's still playing baseball, and not at the major league level, but he still feels like he can play, and he enjoys playing. He just says he can still do it. He enjoys the game, and everyone knows that. And everybody knows it. But it's awesome when you have a guy that really no one knows much about, but he was always clutch, and he was always willing to go the extra mile, get the extra hit, things like that. So he kind of after that stint with the Orioles, kind of backtracking here, but he didn't have, or he went to the Rockies, they let him go. I think the Red Sox for a time, then they let him go again. But this affiliated team, though, Voldy, has had some guys that you'd probably know: Vlad Guerrero, Ian Snell, Dontrell Willis, the D-Train.
The D-Train, baby.
And Rich Hill as well, but he didn't do well for the Twins. But he did well for the Dodgers, so there's that. But so he's been with them for a little bit, and he's killing it. He was hitting .330 when he first started over there in just 93 games, so 10 homers. I mean, Lew frickin' Ford. He's still doing it at 40, 45, and he likes it. And, he also said, too, and I think this is really cool, what he said as well, talking about baseball here. It was more enjoyable than the first time I got called up. It had been something I had been working on for years. A lot of setbacks as far as trying to get a job, trying to find the right organization. It was tough. It was a long road. It was accomplishing this huge goal to get it back up there. There was a lot behind it this time around. So he was, he was feeling good about his new team with the Ducks and whatnot. And, that's what LewFord is still playing ball. And they won the Atlantic League Championship as well. So and he was a big proponent of that. But now that he's getting a little older, he wants to stick to, coaching, and which would make sense. I mean, the guy's like 45 years old, But him playing for the Long Island Ducks is awesome, and that's where LewFord is now. I hope the Twins bring him back or something like that as a fun little for a game, just to show all his highlights and stuff like that with the Twins. And because it's hard to outshine guys like a Torrey Hunter or guys like Johan, big names like that. But LewFord, that's a guy that's still playing baseball. He loves the game. He loves coaching. So props out to LewFord. If you ever want to come on the show, you're more than welcome. Same to Bryzgalov. So we'll keep it like that. But here are our guys for Where Are They Now? And zoners, feel free to chime in too on who else we should bring up here on Where Are They Now. We take suggestions from you guys too. And you guys can talk about your own as well. So Bryzgalov and LewFord. All right, those guys are checked off the list, but we will have more. We'll have more with this segment. It's a great segment. All right, Voldy, we got a little bit of ARA, and we're starting off firing, baby. I'm fired up about this one, this first one. So let's get it going with some Observed or Approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, it is time for Absurd or Approved. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, the wheels on the UrbanMeyer train in Jacksonville are slowly and for surely coming off. Now, it all depends on when the train is going to crash into the next station here with only a few weeks left in the season as well. And it was really all capped off with a 20-0 shutout by Tennessee against the Jacksonville Jaguars this past Sunday. And you know what? Comments are starting to roll out a little bit more about UrbanMeyer and his thinking and how he's handling things in Jacksonville, saying that he's a winner and everybody else is a bunch of losers, even with the Jaguars. 2-12, 2 and not a whole lot of wins.
They just
after
suck.
2.
They're terrible.
They just play up suck as well, but this is bad. And a lot of comments still coming out as well, talking about any reports about Jacksonville maybe letting go UrbanMeyer or maybe moving on elsewhere as well. UrbanMeyer had some unsavory comments towards the media this past week, talking about there is a source. That source is unemployed. There's comments about how Marvin Jones and him had a screaming match. Marvin Jones was the prize free agent this offseason for the Jacksonville Jaguars to bring in, and now there's that. You had some breaking news before the show started about Josh Lambo getting kicked in the leg by UrbanMeyer, while he was stretching or something along those lines. A lot of things that maybe translate, well, I shouldn't say translate well, but things in college you could probably get away with, but these are grown men that you're dealing with in the NFL. Not a lot of this stuff is going to fly with these grown men in the NFL, the best of the best, hence why they are in the NFL to begin with. Looking at the as a whole, absurd or approved, UrbanMeyer's comments on the season as well, and is he the answer for the Jaguars going forward?
Oh, remember when I did my Callahan School of Logic, Voldy, and I said that they should let go of UrbanMeyer? This is exactly why. This guy is on a frickin' power trip, and I'm going to say this right now. UrbanMeyer, get your bitch ass out of Jacksonville, you son of a bitch. This guy is just something else, okay? This guy has no clue what he's doing. And you know what? He's using his authority right now to show these guys, I'm the head coach. I can do whatever the hell I want, and this guy is a bum. UrbanMeyer should understand that you are a dumbass. He is a dumbass. And the reason why he's a dumbass is because he thinks that he can go into the NFL and have instant success. He hates losing, everything like that. Well, if you hate losing, why are you going to the bar and why are you grinding up on co-eds, you idiot? First of all,
House.
Yeah, and second of all, you're beefing with players, you're kicking players, and then not only that, you're getting into a shouting match with Marvin Jones, who, by the way, is a very good person. He has been through a lot of tough times, and he's a mild-mannered person. And UrbanMeyer getting in a shouting match and doing some stupid stuff like that is just beyond me. UrbanMeyer is a clown. He's a dumbass. And also, I'm going to throw this out right here too, is that this guy thinks that he can walk into the NFL and think that he can just go and just have, like I said, instant success. Have Trevor Lawrence. You don't even use James Robinson, and he's calling you out too. This guy needs to go, and he needs to go now. He is an absolute clown. How he has a job in the NFL still is beyond me. This guy needs to get the hell out of Jacksonville. And I'm speaking for some of these Jacksonville fans. This guy is a bum. Get him the hell out of here. And no, he is not the future for the Jaguars, Voldy. And absurd. Absolutely absurd with his comments. This guy is a dumbass. I'm sorry. I'm so sick of UrbanMeyer. I'm so sick of seeing all these stories come out, and they're just letting this happen. UrbanMeyer is a bum. Get this idiot out of the NFL. Please. Voldy.
Boy, if this isn't the straw that breaks the camel's back for Shad Khan to move the team to England, I don't know what this is going to be, because there's going to be a few of these thrown around here, some F-bombs here at left and right about how UrbanMeyer is really handling things, because he's coming at it from a college perspective too. I'm looking at it almost the same way, hopefully not the same way, because I don't remember when Nick Saban went to the Miami Dolphins. Obviously things didn't go right off the bat, that another opportunity did open up for Saban to go back to the college ranks after having a successful run at LSU in his own right. I mean, this is getting ridiculous. I mean, you just can't treat these players like kids, because they're not kids. These are grown adults. I mean, sure, maybe with like some of the younger guys like Trevor Lawrence, James Robinson, that are a couple of years in the league. But when you're getting into shouting matches and kicking around guys that have been in the league much longer than you have in the NFL, I mean, there is definitely a lot to be said in that regard. Is he the answer? Absolutely not. Look, even as a first-year head coach, you would think you'd want to build up a little bit more clout and try to get on everybody's good side, or at least try to make it look like you know exactly what you're doing. It looks like week in and week out, UrbanMeyer has absolutely no goddamn idea what the hell he's doing. He just literally thinks, going off of what he knows, he can go out there and win. Look, I'm going to tell you right now, I think he even made the comment that earlier this season, like in a game or whatever, it's like playing against Alabama every week. Well, yeah, because the best of the best are playing in the NFL, hence why everybody is good. Even if they're bad, they're still really good. Some of the worst players on every team are still the best players to come out of a youth football program, a high school program, some out of college as well. Some of the worst of the best, are still the best in some regard. You just can't go around acting like you know what's going on. Is it the answer? Absolutely not. No. And I just feel bad for Jacksonville fans.
Yeah,
I feel bad for Ben Engelstead. I feel bad for Devontae Stevens, those guys that grew up in Duval, that grew up watching the Jaguars. They had that really good season, 2017, when they went to the AFC Championship, and after that, it's just been all downhill from there. They've suffered through some bad times. Unfortunately, David Garrard, Blaine Gabbert, the first iteration. Now they get juice. When they had Denard Robinson try to figure out his NFL career too, and the constant bouncing around of quarterbacks, inconsistencies. Ownership is just sinking money into a great stadium that should put out a quality product. And unfortunately, it isn't that way. And well, we'll be waiting to see here in about, say about 4 or 5 weeks if Urban makes the cut into next season or not. He's not the answer for Jacksonville.
No. Let me, so there are two things that I forgot to bring up here too, Voldy. One with the breaking news with the Josh Lambo kicking incident. I'm just really briefly, I just want to say what Meyer said after he kicked him. He told him to make your effing kicks. He kicked him in the leg. Lambo characterized the kick as a 5 out of 10, and then told the Tampa Bay Times, he told Meyer, "Don't you ever effing kick me again."
It's a moneymaker, man.
Yeah. Lambo said Meyer told him, "I'm the head ball coach. I'll kick you whenever the F I want." Really?
And I'm a grown man. I'm going to sock you in the mouth. That's what I'm going to do.
And then another thing, too, is he yelled at his assistant coaches, calling them losers. He said, "I've won. Have you won? Have you won? Have you won?" Bro, you have won nothing. Nothing in the NFL.
Being a bully.
Yeah,
he's just trying to be a bully.
He's a freaking bully. And you know what? He has. I've lost so much respect for this son of a bitch. I'm telling you, this. Oh yeah, he makes my blood boil now. Oh my god. But
never left Ohio State.
He should have never left Ohio State. But you know what, this guy, yeah, and then all this other stuff that's happened with him. Yeah.
Well, I tell you one thing. Whenever they come out with the 30 for 30 on the Florida National Championship football teams, man, the UrbanMeyer story is just getting juicier and juicier.
Hey, Tim Tebow, you want to speak up a little bit too? Because this guy is really showing you why he can't be trusted. So, interesting. But, yeah, that's all I got to say about it. All right, I just needed to get that off my chest, Voldy. Well, we can simmer down a little bit. But yeah, I speak for the Jacksonville fans. I get your frustration. And, yeah, get that SOB out of there. Okay, I've cussed enough. All right, Voldy, next one.
Well, it did come out here earlier this week that Minnesota Wild general manager Bill Guerin has been tasked with putting together a team for Team USA for the Olympics here in Beijing. That'll be beginning here in a little over actually under now 2 months' time with the opening ceremonies and everything. Wow. And there's a lot of concerns as of late that a certain amount of NHL players that will be allowed to participate in the Winter Olympics will actually make the decision whether or not to attend, whether it be for personal reasons, whether it be for safety concerns, COVID, things of that sort as well. A lot more reports coming out each and every day about what the situation could be. Diplomatic boycotting as well by certain countries and factions, including the U.S. Olympic Committee as well. But looking at it as well, I mean, is it the fact that you look at the situation, obviously, with everything happening in Beijing and for Team USA trying to put together a quality product for their country and also for the Team USA as well. Looking at as well, is it absurd or approved, regardless of whatever ramifications cut out, depending on the players that do make it? Will Team USA win gold at Beijing no matter what kind of team they put together with Bill Guerin leading the charge?
Yeah, stamp of approval. Hell yeah. Have you seen The Wild this year? I mean, I'm asking people, but obviously you have, Foley. I'm just saying to a lot. I mean, The Wild... He let go two guys that have been staples in Minnesota, Suter, Parisi. And where I'm going with this is that the guy knows how to put a team together. And gosh darn it, he's going to put a team together. But the thing is unfortunately, I don't think you're going to get that guy over here, Kirill Kaprizov, unfortunately. But again, that's just how it is. Billy G's going to get one of the best teams here. And do I think they're going to win gold? Maybe, maybe not. Because obviously Canada, we want to beat Canada, But at the same time, I think Billy G's the perfect guy for the job. I think he's going to put a great team together. But also, with everything that's been going on with COVID and protests, things like that, I still think that he'll manage to put a team together that's going to be competitive. And, that'll probably get – I'm feeling they'll get to the gold medal game here with Team USA. They'll probably have to play Canada or Russia or however this is going to go down. But, I think Billy G's going to put together a really good team, stamp of approval all around. Just remember, as Billy G once said, Voldy, it's about effing winning. It's about effing winning. So we'll go with that. Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely could see this as the opportunity for Team USA to slide their way into the medal podium as well. I mean, of the guys that have come out, there haven't been a lot of players as of yet that have actually said that, I'm not going to be playing the Olympics. The only one, Robin Lehner from the Vegas Golden Knights for Team Sweden, he said that he's not going to be going for personal, medical, and mental health concerns as well. Team USA's got a pretty decent chance. 55 players that are under consideration for spots on the roster, including which does include Jack Eichel for the Vegas Golden Knights, Austin Matthews. Those guys can certainly put the puck in the net too. But again, I mean, we've seen it right from the very beginning with Billy Guerin. He wants to win. He wants to win bad because he's represented Team USA in the World Cup. He's done it for World Championships, the Olympics as well. He wants to win. He wants to add an Olympic gold medal to his resume as a GM, as well as being a player in his own regard too, that he has seen success in his own mind and working with the team too. So I think it's definitely it's got my stamp of approval. If anything short of a gold for Team USA would be a disappointment here this year in the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, I couldn't have. I can't think of another GM that would do the same that Billy G would, and I think Billy G knows what he's doing here. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that things will go well. So, but anyway, I believe that we are sticking with this similar topic. So next one, Voldy.
Yeah, another consideration, of course, this does kind of piggyback off of the decision for, some players that may or may not want to participate in the, in the Winter Olympics this year with the likes of, everything happening in Beijing, whether it be the protests, COVID concerns as well, seeing and hearing reports as well that could potentially be not just, self-isolation for almost up to 5 weeks in Beijing.
Oh my.
If you do test positive, at least that's what I heard from a secondhand report. So that's 4 hands, I believe, that went through before I actually heard that information. It was negotiated that the Players Association and the NHL did come to an understanding that players can participate in the 2022 and 2024 Winter Olympics in the men's hockey tournament. But again, there's a lot of question marks right now if it's going to even be worth it. A lot of players would definitely consider it if it was, maybe a little bit closer to home, if there wasn't the whole thing with the pandemic and the protests going on. I know a lot of guys were talking about, this is a great opportunity. Last time would have been Russia 2014 in Sochi and then 2010 in Vancouver. Those were perfectly great opportunities.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know some of the craziness of the stories that happened in Russia and Sochi, but obviously Vancouver set its own benchmark as well with how great that of a Olympic tournament it was. But looking at, again, another situation as a whole with players in the middle of the season for their teams in the NHL facing possible situations where they could be out even longer during the Olympics as well. Do you think it's absurd or approved that Commissioner Gary Bettman did come out and say it should be, left up to the players to make that decision? Do you think the NHL should let their players participate in the Beijing Olympics based off everything going on with this this go around with the Winter Olympics?
Right. It's. The one thing that gives me concern, and I think you would agree with me on this as well, is this Omicron variant. And with this variant coming around, and it's very transmissible, but from what I understand, it's very mild from what and again, I'm not getting into politics here. This is from what I've been hearing, okay? And I'm not one of those guys that lean on one side. I'm kind of in the middle always. But anyway, I think you have to leave it up to the players because some of these, I think the players, let's do an old-fashioned vote, right? Let's put. Right. I don't have a hat with me right now, but if I in that hat and just say, okay, yes or no, going to the Beijing Olympics. Okay, then everyone, do that. Now, if they have it happen, let's do it. Let's make sure you do the right protocols, things like that. But we want people to be safe, right? You don't want to be passing around this virus, even if with people with weakened immune systems, things like that. But that's the only thing that I would be concerned about with this variant coming around. But I think this is the right way to go about it because instead of being like, you're going no matter what, it's like a parent telling you you're going no matter what, you're going to church no matter what. Instead, it's like, okay, you guys make the decision. We're fine either way. Okay. Now it's like I said, it's a fluid situation. Positive cases have gone up. And again, in the NFL, for one, as an example. But looking at, China and then the protests, then you have protests going on too. So I think they're gonna do it, but if it falls flat on its face, it falls flat on its face. Well, that's kind of how I look at it. But If you want to go the safe route, I'd be fine with that too. But I do want to see Billie G dominate. So I guess I kind of want to see the Olympics go on. I think there's a way to do it. You just got to do it right. So we'll see. Voldy, what do you got?
I think a lot of players are going to make the best decision, not only for themselves, for their families, for their teams too. I could see it going either way, that people want to, the players want to represent their country and play the Olympics that, maybe 4 years from now, they won't be in the best of shape. Who knows? Their career could end tomorrow and they could have said, I was going to play in the Olympics, or I did play in the Olympics. That was one of the highlights of my career. But 4 years from now is still a long ways away from that happening for the Beijing, for the next Winter Olympics after Beijing. I would like to see, obviously, the best players from each country play as well, but there was that opportunity for the younger guys to make names for themselves to the last go around with the Winter Olympics. But, I honestly want to see the best American players for Team USA that all play in the NHL on the same team. I want to see the best out of Canada. I want to see the best out of Russia. Yeah. I want to see the best out of Sweden, Finland, obviously all the other border countries that, put teams together. Kazakhstan had a team a long time ago, I think in World Juniors or something like that. Yeah. Norway's had a team and players in countries like that too. But again, at the same time, I wouldn't be mad if the entire Minnesota Wild said, you know what, I think we're okay. We're going to focus on winning a Stanley Cup. I am more than all right with them saying that too, if they're going to go out there and pull out the big upset and win a Stanley Cup, because this is the team built this year to do that too. Again, it should definitely definitely be left in the hands of the players themselves to make the decision that's only best for them, but it's best for their team, best for their families, and for the situation as well. I feel like still some of the better players will definitely get their chance to represent their country, even given all the circumstances too. They'll definitely see some good players too. I think Bill Guerin will have plenty to offer as well at the GM role.
Oh, 100%. It's just doing it safely. I think that's the big thing, and I think the players will make their decision. And either way, I just think you got to do what's best for you guys. That's the main thing. So, all right, next one, Voldy.
Well, in big news as well, I did see that in the transfer portal, it didn't take very long for former Oklahoma Sooners quarterback SpencerRattler to find a new landing spot. It was announced here this past week, actually on Monday, that SpencerRattler is going to be going to University of South Carolina to be a Gamecock. Anytime you can say Gamecock and get away with it is always a good day in my mind. Him and tight end Austin Stogner announced that they're going to Columbia, South Carolina, to join football coach Shane Beamer as the connection there with Oklahoma to South Carolina there to become Gamecocks for the upcoming season. Looking at just those two big pieces and a couple more pieces coming in from the likes of the returning team and also National Signing Day. Look at the Gamecocks that were 6-6 this last year with 3 different quarterbacks in the mix as well. Will the South Carolina Gamecocks win the SEC East this coming year, I should say?
No. And the reason why I say no is because, it's one thing to say that the Gamecocks are, they've had some good teams, and they get Jadeveon Clowney. They had that really good season, but I'm just not sold on Rattler, man. I really haven't been sold on him. I think he's got some talent. Don't get me wrong. But I just think sometimes his mind is not in the right place. And the reason why I say that is because I think there was a show, QB1, when he was in high school or something like that, and I was watching. And, there were some cool things about, but, man, he was kind of a jerk. I don't know. That was just from what I observed from there. And maybe things have changed. And for him,
probably not.
I hope, probably, exactly. But, again, he was the starter in 2020, threw 28 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Then he comes into this season, 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, which isn't awful, but then he got benched. Lincoln Riley was like, nah, I'm putting in Caleb Williams. So I think there's too many good teams in that division or section of the SEC, that's for sure, especially with Florida. even though they lose Mullen and everything like that, but I still think they're talented. But I think they'll be close. I think maybe a change of pace can be a little bit better for SpencerRattler. But, for me, Voldy, I'm really not sold on him. I don't think they will, so I think it's absurd. But having a tight end like that, I mean, the guy's 6'6", the guy can run. The guy, I mean, he's a good player. So, I mean, maybe that'll help. Then they have some added pieces. So, I don't know. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. But, I think it's absurd. I think there's too many good teams in the SEC. So, Voldy, what do you got?
Yeah, I think if the Gamecocks were on the other side of the division, I think they'd have a much, much better chance at winning the division this year. I think they're just on the wrong side. Again, I'm not fully sold either on SpencerRattler. A lot of flash in the pan as he was for the start of his career at Oklahoma after taking over for the quarterbacks that have come through, Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield in there as well. But, obviously he was a top prospect for a reason. Maybe this will help grow his game a little bit more. Also, shout out to the fact that former NDSU quarterback Zeb Noland was one of the 3 quarterbacks for South Carolina to play this year. It was actually a graduate assistant and still had a little bit of eligibility this year and decided to cash it in and, ended up tearing his knee up in the process as well. But that's just a fun little fact on top of that too. But 6-6, they get a couple more pieces. I think if anything, they'll definitely hopefully improve. They do have a couple of young guys still coming in for South Carolina this year. Maybe not to the same level or progression that SpencerRattler is at. But, I think it'll add a nice little piece there in the process for him to hopefully develop his game, play some more of the top talent that is in the SEC, and maybe he'll find himself a nice little career after, hopefully things work out here in South Carolina compared to where things ended for him at Oklahoma. Are they going to win the division? No, it's completely absurd.
Yeah. There's just too much talent. It's just how we look at it. But, I'm not sold on him, but he could prove people wrong. If he does, he does. So, but there's a reason why he transferred, because he knew he wasn't going to start anymore with Caleb Williams starting for the Oklahoma Sooners. So, oh well. All right, well, we stick with college football. So, last one, Voldy.
Well, in a very underwhelming performance, it was this past week that the Heisman Trophy was announced as well, going to, of all things, another Alabama product. This year, it was quarterback BryceYoung that was named the quarterback and obviously the player of the year, winning the Heisman Trophy. The sophomore quarterback that did win the Heisman for the University of Alabama, going back-to-back, only the fifth program ever to have back-to-back Heisman Trophy winners in a group of players that was, let's just say very underwhelming. The other 3 candidates in there as well. Kenny Pickett out of Pittsburgh. You threw in, again, I don't even remember the other 2 guys. CJ Stroud from Ohio State, and then, Aiden Hutchinson from Michigan, too. Looking at these top 4 nominees, I mean, this is a super underwhelming group, at least in my mind. Yeah. Maybe I've just got my head in the sand altogether. But looking at these top 4, is this the worst Heisman top 4 of all time?
Of all time? Ooh, that's... Wow. That's a... it very well could be. I'm not throwing it out of the realm of possibility because, Aiden Hutchinson's a good DN. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a very good DN, but it's very rare that a defensive player wins it. Pickett, I really didn't know about him until the Heisman thing came out. CJ Stroud, I'm not sold on him either. I saw him play against the Gophers, and I didn't think he was very impressive. But Young, I do like what I see from BryceYoung, and I think this was almost a no-brainer, or pretty much a no-brainer, I'll say, with him, because he did have a really good season, and I think with the lineage of these quarterbacks right now at Alabama, and obviously Jalen Hurts played a little bit, Tua, Mac Jones, the Max Daddies. Caitlin Torner's still waiting on the call, Max Daddies, by the way. But BryceYoung, I think this was a no-brainer. I did say a dark horse was Aiden Hutchinson because I do like what I see from him. But it was a long shot, but, you might as well take a shot. Why not? BryceYoung is a guy that I think has a lot of potential, but I think the key is to see how he plays in the college football playoff. But to say that it's the worst, it has the potential to be. Let's see what happens as these careers go on, and then I feel like we can make that determination. But I'll go out on a limb and say, yeah, I think it is, to be honest with you, because there really wasn't a lot of hype into it. Because usually there's like, Johnny Football for one. Everyone is like, oh, is he going to win? Oh, I think he's going to win. He's going to,
No freshman's ever won it. And then we had a string of like 3 of the last 4 Heisman Trophy winners were freshmen or something like that.
Right. So, I mean, different. It's a little different, but you know what? Maybe it'll turn out to be the best. Who knows with their careers? But I don't see it with the other two, with Stroud and Pickett. So that's just my opinion on it. Voldy, what do you think?
I just want to throw out the fact as well, if you've got a defensive player in the top 4 for finalists, no matter how good of a season they had, this is probably a bad sign for the Heisman voting group as well, because even the top 5 had 2 defensive players. That's just a sad reality right then and there. I am just... Again, I wasn't overall I literally had no idea who was going to be in the top 4 just because of the fact none of these players really stood out except for Kenny Pickett with the fake slide in the championship game. That was sick. Yeah. BryceYoung, I think, was just a guy that just kind of showed up, kind of like the way Mac Jones finished out his career at Alabama, managing the game and, you know what, winning games when it counted. That's no slight on him. That's a good move. That's what's gotten him in the NFL, and so far he's having nothing but success with the Patriots. Hashtag Max Daddies as well. Devontae Smith last year, yeah, he was a Heisman Trophy winner. Wasn't impressed, honestly. I mean, not to the point of like Julio Jones, obviously Mark Ingram, Derrick Henry in their careers too. But again, those guys ended up winning Heisman trophies except for Julio Jones in his career too. But, still having pretty productive career in his own regard too. Again, none of these guys overall impressed. Like CJ Stroud, again, it didn't really overall impress me that much. Aiden Hutchinson, defensive player of the year for the Big Ten as a defensive lineman. Again, you throw a defensive guy in the top 5 unless he is literally breaking all the records this season. Probably not a good vote for the Heisman overall. I can't really say if this is the worst ever. I can only go back probably 3, 4, 5 years at most and tell you of the 3, 4, 5 years, this is probably the worst group out of the lot as well. Don't at me about it. You know it's true. And again, I didn't even watch the Heisman ceremony just because I didn't. I had better things to do with my own time, and then just figured that it wasn't going to be all that impressive to begin with. So, this was definitely a very underwhelming class for the Heisman this year.
Yeah. I think that's the best way to put it. Underwhelming is the way to put it with this group, but I think BryceYoung was just more than deserving, and who knows, he might turn out to be a really good quarterback here. But, I guess time will tell. We'll leave it like that for this one. So, anyway, great job with ARA this week, Voldy. A lot of good ones. We started off hot as well, but that needed to be said with UrbanMeyer. I mean, it's gotten so ridiculous that, they're like, oh, they're not going to fire. Oh, they're not. Just do it. The guy's an idiot.
Just do it.
Jesus. So that's just
clean house.
Clean house. That's the best. That's the best thing I can.
Move the team to England.
Yeah, move them to England. Get them the hell out of here. But
get rid of the football team. Throw all the money into pro wrestling, just like what the kids been doing. So just saying.
Or move on to the XFL. Maybe try that.
There you go. Or the USFL. Apparently that's coming back in the spring.
CFL.
Can we talk about that really quick too? How the USFL is literally just popping out of nowhere, like the AAF did a few years ago.
That it was coming back out.
Right? Just like remember when the AAF just had like commercials running during the NFL games? Like, yeah, we got a whole thing coming up, and then it was there for like 3 weeks, and then it just poof.
But XFL, Battlehawks.
sir.
Let's go, baby.
Gotta come back.
Battlehawks. Let's go. I still got the sweatshirt. I love it. But we'll see what happens with that.
Seattle Dragons. Got to invest in my squad.
Yeah, there you go. We got a squad. We got the squad. Hopefully a Minnesota team, but hopefully they won't be
probably
as
not.
disappointing. But I had to throw some shade a little bit. Anyway, we got to get some Shield shoutouts going. There's a lot of good with it, but then there's a tough one, especially. But we'll get to it and whatnot. But anyway, let's get it going a little bit. What's up? Shield shoutouts.
Shield shoutouts.
Alrighty, Shield, who ya shouting out tonight?
Well, we do have to start off, unfortunately, a bit of a somber note. It was over the weekend that it was learned that former NFL wide receiver for the Denver Broncos, most notably, but also with the New England Patriots and the New York Jets, Demaryius Thomas did pass away, unfortunately, at the tender age of 33 years old. In his own right, a Super Bowl champion, was a high-praised player on and off the field, especially with the Broncos organization, had respect league-wide. Even with the short time he had with the Jets and also with the Patriots, still a lot of former teammates coming out and, praising his name as well. And unfortunately, a lot of great numbers in a shortened career as well for Demaryius Thomas. Right off the bat, the very first player to score a touchdown on the very first play overtime when that new rule did happen in the playoffs with Tim Tebow throwing that game-winning touchdown against the Pittsburgh Steelers in that playoff victory. But unfortunately, another life loss at a young age. Could have been a really, really great player and a great organization for the Denver Broncos that did lose the likes of Demaryius Thomas over the weekend as well. That was a big crack of thunder that we just had up here. Oh, that made the heart jump just a little bit here. But moving on to things that'll make your heart kind of level out a little bit. We want to wish congratulations to Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. for reaching the 700 club, winning a contest as well on Sunday. Nice little victory over the Buffalo Bills, reaching combined touchdowns at 700, including regular and postseason, and accomplished on a game winner, which he threw to Mr. Buccaneer himself, Bashad Perriman, in the win in overtime against the Buffalo Bills. And also in that same game, passed over Drew Brees for most completions in NFL history as well. Suck it, Brees. Once again, another record falls into the hands of Brady over Drew Brees as well with that win on Sunday against Buffalo. And one other Shield shout out as well, it was announced earlier this week that former Major League Baseball catcher that did play some time with the LA Angels in his own time, Hank Conger, is now joining the Twins staff as the first base coach and catching coordinator as well for the Twins this season to join Rocco Baldelli's staff. So another former major leaguer that's got a little bit of dirt in his spikes as well will be joining the Twins this year. So welcome to the fold there, Big Hank. That's going to do it for Shield Shoutouts this week.
I want to ask how the poll ads got him to be the coach. Hopefully they didn't lowball him and whatnot, but it is what it is. It is. I'm glad he's with us. It sounds like he'll be a good coach. So we're in need of good coaches, especially. I still don't believe in Baldelli, but that's just me. Demaryius Thomas. That was a gut punch. Absolute gut punch. I really liked. He was a great wide receiver, and me too. Whatnot.
Yeah, I loved him.
I loved Demaryius Thomas. I thought he was great. And Eric Decker. I mean, him and Eric Decker were really good friends too. And,
Decker, Welker, Julius Thomas. Yeah. I mean, Brandon Stokely
Julius.
with the likes of Peyton Manning at that time. Man, they were unstoppable at that time.
They were one hell of an offense, and you feel bad. You feel bad. I mean, I believe it was a seizure or something like that he had.
Yeah.
And it's just sad. Absolutely sad. But, Voldy, you mentioned something that was in reference to the Aints before we wrap this up, because remember back when we did this for Callahan School of Logic, but Kevin James was going to portray Sean Payton in this Netflix film. oh boy, it's already starting to get a little absurd. And the reason why it's getting absurd is because the trailer had when, it's Roger Goodell on the phone to Kevin James. Oh, he's on the phone. How are they going to spin this? Because I am so intrigued to see how he spun this and been like, I had no idea. Oh my God, I'm going to go ballistic. I will go ballistic if that goes. But I like Kevin James, and it's like a feel-good
Kevin James
movie.
is hilarious.
Yeah, I like Kevin James. But the thing is that, oh man, my blood will boil if they make it seem like, well, he had no clue about it. Oh man, I tell you. But there's going to be hell to pay. I did say that in our Callahan School of Logic, but I wanted to bring that up because it needs to be brought up. And Sean Payton, I tell you. But anyway, great job with Shield Shoutouts, Voldy, as always. But, Voldy, it's getting to Christmas time, right? And you know what you can do during Christmas time? You can get yourself a MinneZona merch, okay? We got shirts. We are taking orders for sweatshirts. Whoa. We got hats, too. Yeah, he caught it. He got it. We got hats as well. The hats are $20, $5 shipping. We'll get it to you and whatnot, but they're fantastic hats. We got stickers as well. Thank you to Crown Rental, Tyler Knutson for the stickers. You want more info, $2, $3. And every time you pay, you get something with MinneZona. You help us keep the show on the live streams, all that fun stuff. So we appreciate every thing that you do for us. We're taking orders for sweatshirts now. We had a video posted, so if you guys want sweatshirts, we're taking orders for sweatshirts. Let's try to get as much sweatshirts as we can. And obviously, we got shirts. They're 5 out of 5 stars and whatnot.
Yes, sir.
So. $20, $5 shipping, all that fun stuff. So, anyway, and then also make sure you guys check out W2 Performance with Will Rattel, www.w2performance.com. Make sure to check out our guy, Will Rattel. He's doing awesome things. And then make sure to check out Jack's Junkyard. Jack's still hanging around on the TikToks and whatnot. And then Breaking Into the League podcast with Sam Gabrielli, Ryan Martin. New episode is out. We're trying to work out a time to meet up with those guys. But new episode's out. They've got some cool content coming your way too. So make sure to check them out. Spotify, Apple Podcasts. So awesome. But anyway, that's going to do it for episode 91. Voldy, I can't believe that we're at 91 episodes.
91.
Christmas is coming up, and we're approaching our 2-year, 3-year, whatever it is. I can't think right now, but it's going to be awesome. 100 episodes, all that fun stuff. So we'll have some awesome things coming to you guys very soon. But anyway, we'll see you soon. But folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.